Real heroes aren't born, they're made. Or at least, that's what we're all told. The average lifespan of a Helldiver is painfully short, with the vast majority of troops being wiped out shortly after being deployed planetside. But in spite of this, there is one Helldiver who has managed to survive countless run-ins with the enemies of Super Earth and still serves the Federation to this very day. Today, in cooperation with the Ministry of Truth, we present a closer look at none other than the legend himself, General Brasch. The man known as General Brasch was born well over a century ago, so the exact details regarding his origins are sketchy at best. However, it is a well-known fact that he is indeed a veteran of the First Galactic War, one of the longest and most brutal conflicts in history that saw the forces of Super Earth pitted against the treacherous cyborgs, the disgusting bugs, and the manipulative Squith. It is said that Brasch was one of the first super citizens to sign up for the Helldiver Corps, and that his physical prowess and tactical approach to combat is what truly set him apart from his fellow Helldivers. Due to his valor and bravery, Brasch quickly rose up the ranks of the SCAF, applying his battle acumen and knowledge of the enemy to the many brutal situations Super Earth found itself embroiled in. There were allegedly numerous missions that Brasch embarked upon alone, working with speed and precision to disable enemy targets and complete some of the most difficult missions assigned to him by High Command. Now, it must be mentioned that the statistical probability of General Brasch being able to survive as many encounters as he did is unbelievably low, but by Liberty's grace, this legend of Super Earth was able to persist through time and circumstance. But even though Brasch is still very much part of the Helldiver Corps, there are those who have questioned the general and his integrity in the past. It thus behooves us to set the record straight in the name of truth and justice. Today, General Brasch continues to carry out his sacred duty by training new recruits in the Helldiver training facility located on Mars. To this end, there isn't a single Helldiver worth their super salt that hasn't received instruction from the General and made it through the grueling training it takes to become a tried and tested Helldiver. Now, it is true that most Helldivers have never actually seen Brasch in person. Even when receiving instructions from him, it is all done vocally via a sophisticated radio broadcast system. As a direct result, there are those troops who believe that Brasch is actually dead and that he simply serves as a propaganda tool to encourage young prospects to sign up to be a Helldiver. First and foremost, this is an insult to the General, who deserves not only our thanks, but our eternal gratitude for his selfless sacrifice and service to the Federation. Secondly, Brasch does not appear in person as he has many duties to attend to that require him to be on standby at all times, and with as many recruits as he needs to train, he cannot spend all day running around after them. Third and finally, the intimation that High Command would use anyone or anything as a propaganda tool is a clear indication of a sympathizer who wants to undermine the moral fabric of the Federation. In short, anyone expressing these views or discussing them in any way is always charged for treason and forced to assist in removing the bodies of those recruits who did not make it through Helldiver training. In addition to getting troops battle ready, Brasch is the voice and mind behind Brasch Tactics, a series of instructional videos intended to help Helldivers think more strategically on the battlefield. From using the tagging system to dealing with injuries and team reloading to ammo conservation, Brasch Tactics is a compendium of useful information any Helldiver can use to improve their chances of actually making it all the way to final extraction. Again though, several Helldivers, who are now being re-educated, have pointed out that Brasch does not actually appear in these videos and that his likeness is nothing more than a static image. Even though this may be the case, the voice that can be heard in these videos is indeed General Brasch, a living, breathing Helldiver who has somehow made it through in spite of the impossible odds. It is true that General Brasch is a source of inspiration and the perfect example of what a true Helldiver should aspire to be, hence why he routinely appears as a useful guide for our troops. His knowledge of the battlefield and many tactics our enemies employ against us are invaluable to the war effort, and without his oversight and keen mind, the SCAF would be far worse off. So as many are aware of General Brasch and his countless exploits, so too do they know of the legendary John Helldiver. But if Brasch's origins are obscure or sketchy, virtually nothing is known of John Helldiver. On this basis, many Helldivers and super citizens have come up with their own theories about John Helldiver and the relationship he has with the Great General, if any. Because of John's status as a nigh unkillable super Helldiver, more than a few in our ranks believe that John Helldiver and General Brasch are in fact the same person. However, given some of the intel High Command has shared in the past, it would appear that Brasch and John are two different people, with Brasch serving as the head of our strategy while John works in the field as a crack commando. On this basis, it seems that John Helldiver is younger than General Brasch, taking up the mantle of his storied predecessor and doing his part to spread managed democracy across the stars. There are thus several other more compelling theories about General Brasch and John Helldiver, the most popular being that John is actually General Brasch's son. This isn't actually a completely outlandish conclusion because many believe that, in order to ensure John can be deployed where he is needed most, his identity is deliberately kept a secret so that nobody attempts to target Brasch in order to get to John. That isn't to say that if Brasch was the subject of some kind of seditious plot that John would not go after and rescue him, but in all likelihood, any organization, alien or human, foolish enough to embark on such a mission would find it nigh impossible to subdue Brasch, even in his old age. In truth, Brasch is a tactical genius and an enormously powerful man who to this day could take out a squad of automatons single-handedly. Although he has a security detail as mandated by Super Earth, the reality is that Brasch is still in peak physical shape, maintaining his strength through a rigorous training program that he observes on a daily basis. Having survived innumerable battles, many Helldivers have understandably come up with several stories about Brasch's incredible exploits over time. It's said that the general once destroyed a tank simply by pointing at it and yelling "bang." Another quip states that Brasch once threw an impact grenade into a bug nest and killed 34 Terminids. Then the grenade exploded, and instead of a Hellpod launcher, Brasch is said to have a diving board installed in his own super destroyer, dropping into battle without any form of protective equipment. The stories go on, and obviously to ensure that things don't get too out of hand, the Ministry of Truth does their part to control the narrative, ensuring that our Helldivers are fully aware that every one of these stories is absolutely true. Regardless of whether you believe these anecdotes, and if you don't, that's treason, the General has had a personal hand in making sure the Helldivers get the equipment and firepower they need to succeed in the field. Several months ago, Helldivers making use of the SH-32 shield generator pack found that they were nigh invulnerable as they were practically impervious to any form of melee damage. An investigation into the matter was subsequently launched by the Ministry of Truth. After tracing the origins of these shield generator packs, it was found that they all came directly from General Brasch's personal stash. These packs were special and reserved for use by 10-star generals only. Those responsible for this logistics debacle were summarily detained and sent to re-education camps for their crimes against the Federation. As a direct result, and by way of apology to Brasch, he was promoted to Super 10-star General, making him the highest-ranking Helldiver in the history of Super Earth. In all fairness, Brasch is more than deserving of this status, and even without his knowledge, the augmented shield generators he provided to the Helldivers undoubtedly gave them a major edge on the battlefield. Not one to simply wear his newfound title and do nothing with it, Brasch issued a protection order for pygmy hippos known as the Mu Deng Accord. It's no secret that the animals of Super Earth are an integral part of its ecosystem and vital to our survival as a species. Why, fish across the galaxy are recognized as super citizens and venerated for the joy they bring into our lives. In light of this, and recognizing just how important pygmy hippos are to the morale of the SCAF and the Federation citizenry, the venerable General Brasch introduced the Mu Deng Accord, ensuring that the pygmy hippo population is protected and that armed guards keep watch over them at all times. The General is thus very interested in the well-being of Super Earth's human population as well as its diverse and beautiful ecosystem. This particular act is almost surely the first of many, and in the future, it's likely that Brasch will sign more protection orders for some of the Federation's most vulnerable species. It's also clear that even great heroes like Brasch need to take time off every now and then. According to intel released by High Command, the General recently returned from a holiday retreat in Foggy Hillside Town. Examining the map of Super Earth, it is unclear where Foggy Hillside Town is, but it is thought that it is close to what was once known as Maine or West Virginia. Although it is unconfirmed, and not something the Ministry of Truth is prepared to divulge any details on, many believe Brasch was dispatched to this town to deal with some kind of great and terrible evil that hid deep within the shadows. Of course, superstition may have the word super in it, but it is the one thing with this sacred word that High Command does not, in fact, consider super at all. Those who believe in the psychological manifestations of traumatized characters being granted physical form and attacking them as some kind of metaphor for their chronic mental suffering are deeply sick and deluded, and as such, they are all remanded into the Ministry of Humanity's custody. Regardless of what transpired, Brasch had a relaxing holiday and returned to his duty refreshed and rejuvenated, ready to train prospective Helldivers once more. More recently, General Brasch, together with Jane Helldiver, awarded the Patriotic Medal for Excellence in Patriotism to the members of the Freedom Alliance, one of the greatest factions operating within the Helldiver Corps. This prestigious award is only bestowed upon those divers who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to achieve the goals of Super Earth and sacrificed their lives in the process. However, due to budget cuts, the members of the Freedom Alliance were granted 3 additional seconds of R&R, which, as you are all well aware, has long since expired. But why take time off when you can spend that time spreading prosperity across the galaxy, Helldivers? We're sure you all see our point, because if you don't, well, that's treason. Please feel free to leave a comment if you disagree. The Ministry of Truth's agents are standing by to answer you. Now, as you all know, the Ministry of Defense has introduced numerous augmentations to our arsenal over the course of the last few months. Although most of these changes proved popular with our troops, there was one alteration that left many Helldivers feeling deeply dissatisfied. The changes introduced to the SG-8P Punisher Plasma were heavily criticized by our troops, with many stating that the tweaks to the way its projectiles travel were counterintuitive and made it frustrating to wield against enemies. Upon hearing the feedback from his beloved Helldivers, Brasch decided to test the adjusted Punisher for himself. After just a single shot, Brasch grimaced and dropped the weapon, immediately understanding the frustration expressed by the Helldivers. He then proceeded to issue an administrative order reverting the changes to the Punisher plasma, thus returning it to its previous working state. And in fact, Brasch insisted that the Punisher's magazine capacity be increased from 8 to 10, a move that was deeply appreciated by Helldivers across the galaxy. General Brasch has served the Federation for countless decades and continues to hold up the torch of freedom, driving the enemies of humanity back into the shadows where they find refuge. Regardless of the rumors surrounding Brasch and his origins, there is no question that he is a loyal servant of democracy who has done everything in his power to further our noble cause. With the DSS now operational, there is little doubt that our foes will increase their resistance and redouble their efforts to overwhelm us. Nevertheless, with brave leaders like the legendary General Brasch leading the way, there is no force in this universe that can ever hope to stand against us. The good general will continue to train our troops on Mars and carry out his democratic duty with honor and distinction. And if it comes down to it, we know Brasch will take up arms and fight alongside our brave troops on the front lines, leaving scrapped bots and dead bugs in his wake. Let us take this opportunity to thank General Brasch for his tireless resolve and clarity of vision. From us here at the SES and every Helldiver in the Corps, we salute you, General Brasch, for Super Earth and democracy. So ends another democratic broadcast from the SES. What do you think about General Brasch? And what stories have you heard about him? Be sure to let us know in the comments. And if you're looking for more liberated content, why not find out which one of the 10 types of Helldivers you are? Or perhaps you're more interested in the biggest mysteries the galaxy has in store for us, in which case, we suggest you check that broadcast out as soon as possible. Finally, if you have any requests for an upcoming broadcast, make sure you leave your suggestions in the comments. On behalf of the Ministry of Truth and High Command, this is the SES signing off.